Welcome to Door2Door Insider, where we take a deep dive into the mindset, the why, and the how of the industry's top entrepreneurs, leaders, recruiters, and salespeople. We are the Door2Door Nation. Here is your host, Lee Barber. Let's go.
All right, gang, welcome to Door2Door Insider. Today, I'm excited to introduce Jeff Iverson, a dynamic entrepreneur with a remarkable journey. With 15 years of experience in transportation, Jeff also founded Freedom House and Crossroads, Nevada's two largest treatment centers, making a profound impact on countless lives. Beyond that, he is a seasoned real estate investor and trailblazer in the solar industry, joining as a customer in 2019 before becoming a partner at Bell Solar in Nevada from 2020 to 2023 until the company's sale. Now thriving as a solar dealer, Jeff's story is one of resilience, innovation, transformation. Join us as we dive into the insight on balancing purpose-driven work and entrepreneurial success. Jeff, welcome to the show, man.
Let's go. I'm
Let's
so
go.
glad to be here with you, bro.
Yeah, we've had a long journey ourselves. So we actually started. You started at Presidential Limousine, and then just to catch the viewers up a little bit, I got out of detention after 3.5 years in detention in 2007, and I went to a meeting and I met a dude named Kenny, who had been shot in the eye and had tattoos all over his whole face and neck.
Yeah.
And he was in a meeting talking about driving this limo to LA, and these dudes were doing coke in the back. And, you know, he was just trying to stay sober. And all I heard and saw was, if this dude can drive a limo, I can drive a limo. So he didn't pray at the end of meetings. And so he beelined out of the meeting, and I just stood up and I went after him. I was working at a car wash.
I remember.
I was working at a car wash because I just gotten out, and I went out and called him, hey, homeboy, what's the deal with this limo thing? And he's like, come meet my boy, Jeff Iverson. And I think it was like 2 days later, I went to, where was it? The detox center?
West Care.
I went to the West Care AA, or the West Care meeting, and you were there, and you're like, do you have a car? Do you have a cleanish, like, is nothing since then? Can you, yeah? And I was like, yes. And you're like, okay, go do these things. And I started at Prez. So you gave me my first actual opportunity at Prez. We had a 9-year relationship there. So that's just kind of introducing the viewers to our relationship. But tell me a little bit about yourself, man. I'd like the viewers to kind of get because let me lead this a little bit. I know you very well. You've had a very diverse life. You've overcome an immense amount of challenges. You are a true entrepreneur. I've seen your success directly over many, many years. Especially in our early friendship, you were always, I always wanted to, I saw your success. You were really like the law of attraction, right? You were kind of making your own way, like at Prez, is a good example. Like, you made your position there, right? Yeah. You did all the things. So part of what I try to bring to the viewers on the show is like the dynamic personality types that we have in the industry and the opportunities that it creates. Like, it doesn't have to be, the Mormon kid that went on the mission. It doesn't have to be the guy in recovery. It doesn't have to be the kid that didn't do either one of those things and just went to college. It doesn't have to be, it can be the single mom. It can be the recovering addict. It can be, like, we have this dynamic, presence in our industry. So I like to bring these kind of stories of power and trailblazers. So yeah, just catch us up a little bit on the things you're willing to share, from life, like catch the viewers up. Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad to be here. Super, super excited to be reconnected with you.
Yep.
Born and raised in Las Vegas, excited to experience everything Vegas had to offer that was off limits and taboo as a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's kind of like normal, like, the strip and the clubs and, all these things are off limits, but so it's like, but they glamorize it, right?
Yeah.
And so just, I got caught up in the lifestyle and was just really drawn to, I think I'm naturally a rebellious person, wanting to like go against the grain, do things kind of my way. You know, I grew up in a very religious home.
You grew up LDS, right?
I was LDS.
And it was actual like, was it LDS, or was it like Jack Mormon? Or
No, my family's very
LDS.
Very active LDS.
Which is great.
Mormon.
Yeah, it's a structured.
It works for a lot of people
100%.
Until it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just, you know, as a kid, I went through some things that caused me to, you know, really have a lot of anger and resentment internally that just brewed. And, you know, I believe that fueled my need to self-medicate, which I started doing at an early age. And that just kind of spiraled out of control, you know. And I'm grateful for those experiences now, because it led me, you know, I've heard you talk about this before, like everything we've done in our life leads us to where we're at today. You know what I mean? And if I wouldn't have gone through some of those things, some of it was trauma, some of it was self-induced, but if I hadn't have gone through that, like it wouldn't have led me down this path that, you know, got me entangled in the criminal justice system. You know, when I met you when you had first got out, but when I met with JJ and got my job, I was
JJ Bell owns Bell Transportation.
Yeah,
Presidential, just to
JJ
catch
Bell.
the viewers up.
When I met JJ, I was 90 days clean, and I was still on probation and in the drug court program.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this dude, you know, when I sat down with him, I think it was my authenticity, you know, my transparency. I just said, listen, man, I've made a lot of really bad decisions, and I just need somebody to give me a shot, you know? And he looked at me in the eye and he said, I have never done this, but I'm going to give you a shot. Because on paper, I'm, you know, a whole different person than I am, you know, today. Well, especially back then. But really enjoyed my run in the transportation world. I love projects, and I love purpose-driven projects. And for me, the opportunity that I had at Prez after becoming a driver, you know, 6 months later, he made me the GM of the company.
Yeah, I remember.
And that was like, I started hiring these second chancers.
Yeah.
And guys with backgrounds, and I started going against the norm, and people are like, what are you doing? You know, the Jeff H's of the world and the Chris W's of the world. They're like, what?
Normal guys.
What? Wait a second. Like, we got guys showing up here with tattoos and you know what I mean? Oh my goodness. So really I became very excited about the idea of affording other people an opportunity, a way out. You know what I mean?
Let me hit on this a little bit though, because I mean, one of the things, you know, I was talking to my group about this yesterday, and it's interesting. I was just re-listening to my Jordan Williams podcast that I did a couple of years ago, and he's an absolute beast. But just talk for a minute on creating the opportunity, right? Because we're talking about, and I experienced a similar thing through you at Prez, where there was no director of sales, and I drove for about a year and a half,
right,
and started, you know, selling these weddings. But I remember being in an environment where there was the ability to have an opportunity, but then also creating the opportunity myself by doing some work. Remember, I wrote JJ a letter. Remember, I'm like,
I still have that letter.
I'm like, you're like, write a letter, tell him what you wanted. And so, but I, through this constant force of like making something that wasn't there by doing action. So just hit on that, because I mean, early in your career, you're doing those things and you didn't just become the GM. So talk about that just for a minute, because when we look at door to door, what's the parallel? The parallel is you can come in and just be a setter, or you can read some books and try and teach some correlations and go out and watch some YouTube and do some stuff and go to your leadership and say, hey, I want to excel. I want to do more. I want to learn how to recruit and do these things.
Yeah.
And so the parallel is like, so as long as I've known you, you've been trailblazer, meaning you've trailblazed your own success by creating opportunities, putting yourself in an environment where there could be an opportunity, and then making it. So just kind of talk on that for a minute.
Man, I can take very little credit for the beginning stages of that part of my life, because I was fortunate to find a mentor in my early recovery that I was constantly talking about, like I was constantly talking about like the woe is me's, the like everything I had going, you know, against me.
Life was happening to you.
You know what I mean? Oh, I'm a felon. I'm this, I'm that. And I was very fortunate to have a relationship with a guy that like taught me that none of that mattered.
Who was it?
His name was Jerry Tiffy.
Oh, Jerry. Got it.
You know what I
So
mean?
you had another mentor that helped
So
you
it was
through
it
that.
was my first sponsor in AA, and then that led me. The reason I found JJ is because I went back to I went to ODS to get my old job back, and they were like,
ODS.
"Hell no,
Yeah. you're
Hell
busted.
no.
Yeah.
you know what I mean?"
Yeah.
And so I was driving by down Industrial, and I saw Presidential and Bell, and I was like, I already had a suit on. I was like, I might as well go in here and try. You know what I mean? I felt defeated.
But even in that, right, you're still, even in this is what I wanted to get to, because there's common denominators between successful people and unsuccessful people. Unsuccessful people, when they feel defeated, they lay down and die.
Yeah.
Successful, even back when you say you didn't, this is because I love unpacking this stuff with successful people, even when you say I had very little to do with it. Like, first of all, because this is me just playing it out. First, you find Jerry. You're looking for someone to tell you that you're not doing it right.
Right.
And it sounds like what Jerry just said was like, hey, quit being, you're not a victim of anything, kid. Life is happening for you.
Exactly.
Not to you. Change your paradigm.
Yep.
And then you get enough of that soaked in where you go to ODS and they're like, beat it. This is not good. And then in the essence, in the feeling of defeat, you're still looking for an opportunity. And just, this is the thing, is like, we're driving by a door, we're driving by a building, we're driving by a house, we're driving by something on, Sales Rabbit or something that says it's been knocked 40 times. You feel defeated. It's been a long day, but you just go knock one more door all the way back then, and it creates this opportunity. So I think that's,
oh my goodness.
dope.
This just reminds me of the amount of conversations I had with drivers that would come in and say like, I only had 3 rides today. And I'm like, well, why didn't you stay out and get one more?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like the one more versus the poor me mentality, you know what I mean? And so I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial drive in me. I just didn't know how to channel that, right? I was
That's a good way to put it.
making and distributing the wrong things.
Yeah. You were selling just different kind of stuff.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Life is all about sales. If I'm selling myself, if I'm, it started with a guy that helped me to be able to change my mindset and look at things through a lens of opportunity rather than, the woe is me. I have all these odds stacked against me. On paper, I'm this, on paper, I'm that. And, he just wasn't trying to hear it. He's like, get off your ass and go do something. You know what I mean? And so that was the beginning. And then, it's interesting. You watch people have one little success and overcome one little barrier, and it gives them just a little bit of confidence. You know what I mean? And so eventually over time, we build up this mindset that like, well, shit, like I did that. I could do this. And another thing is I had people in my life telling me like, what do you want out of life? I had been so entrenched in like just a lifestyle of like ick for so long that like I had no idea what I wanted. And I think it starts with like deciding what you want out of life. I sit down with so many people. I'm like, what do you want? Even guys coming in to apply, I'm like, so what do you want? How much money do you want to make? Where do you see yourself in 2 years?
Yeah, they don't know.
And people have no clue.
They've never thought about it. It's their own life.
Well, my bills are $2,500 a month. If I made $2,600, I'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's all you want out of life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Get hungry, kid. And I just, the more I saw, JJ, they put me on a profit sharing plan. And so, when you and I were new at Presidential, that company was generating a couple $1 million a year in revenue. And as soon as they put me on a profit sharing plan, like I got to work.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, this isn't rocket science. We need more drivers and more cars if we're going to generate more revenue, right? And so that's kind of like where I just learned the basics.
Think about the parallel in what we do in business now.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. So when you started with me, I started with you in limos, and we're pivotal in each other's, in my opinion.
Totally.
Bell and they go to sell, and I'm skipping ahead here, and I have a few things that I want to hit back on there. But you start with me in solar. The parallels in business are the parallels in business is business is business. It's a different product, but business operates like business operates. How do we get more? We need more setters. We need more closers. Yeah. I mean, just what you just said. We need more limos. We need more drivers, right? It's how do we scale? How do we get involved? So I wanted to go back and just make a couple of takeaways that I had from that. One, I think, because I love parallels to give to guys, one is first you had somebody, you changed your surroundings, the people, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a speech written by Theodore Roosevelt, Man in the Arena, and the basis, anybody that wants to go look at, just go look at Man in the Arena, but the basis of the Man in the Arena is that the gladiators in the arena and everybody else is just in the stands, cheering and jeering and throwing mud and saying what they'll say. But none of them will get in the arena with a gladiator. Right. And the one thing I've determined in my life is if you're in the stands, we don't have anything to talk about when it comes to advice. I only take advice from people in the pit with me that are gladiators. So one, you change your surroundings. You change like who was giving you advice, who you were accepting advice from, who you were taking criticism or critiques from. Yeah. And then two, you started to figure out like, I need to have a purpose and a drive. I need to have like, what do I want to be? And I think one of your points was like, what do you want to be? I think we have a narrower view of that in the beginning, but when we start surrounding ourselves with people, like you're looking at JJ, you're like, well, this guy owns a transportation company, and wow, I could own a house, and I could have and so it starts expanding with your surroundings.
It does.
The other thing here that I want to call out is, as an entrepreneur and a leader and a business person myself, as just like you, what are we always looking for? We're always looking for the person that's hungry. Yeah. If I have to come to you to motivate you, I'm not coming to you. Right. It's the guys, and it just tells you how little it has to do with who you've been or what's happened to you or any of that. It has so much more to do with how motivated you are, how hungry you are, how inspirational you can be. Like those are the key factors in success, because for me, I'm a delegator. Like, who can help me train a guy on doors? Who can help me run recruit? Who can help me do solar school? And when my guys are coming to me, I'm like, oh, you're my guy. Like, I want to, like, you want to do it. Let's sign you up. And I just see that back with JJ, and those are those parallels. And we look, because I always look for, like, the common denominators in success and what we're looking for. And it's just always a shout out to people, like, do more, be more, go make yourself more so that you can present a better opportunity to the people that you want to. Now, you're around the right people in door to door. Yeah. Seize the opportunity by creating it. So I love that. So how many years at Prez? I was there 9. You were?
So I was there from 2007 to 2019. So I was there 12 years.
And we said that revenue was, and you were acutely, I was there in the office with you and JJ and just a little of my story, I created my own opportunity as well. I was a driver for a year plus, and then ended up, there was never a director of business development or anybody in sales, inside sales at Beltrans or Presidential. I was the first person to do that.
Yes, you were.
Which, created my own opportunity. I did the footwork. You allowed me the opportunity with JJ, and JJ was the same with me. I remember with JJ, he was very hesitant with me. And you kind of helped me push that, but he did believe in me, and it ended up working. Just a shout out to that, but just to talk about your success there. So when you started, it was a couple $1 million in revenue. When you left, revenue stats for the company were
23 to 25
a month,
million a year.
Yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, like,
and we,
it's the largest transportation company in Nevada.
Even when you started, just the presidential fleet was probably somewhere around 40, and we ended up with around 150,
which is a lot of cars.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we drove.
It was a lot of cars, and there was no like magical or like complicated formula to growing the company.
Persistence over time.
That company had been run generationally, and they were doing some things, and I would say most businesses could use a fresh set of eyes once in a while to kind of look at their processes and how they're doing things. Yeah. I remember the staggering amount of money. It was something around $60,000 a month they were spending in print ads. And this was 2008.
Print ads.
Yellow book, like Yellow book.
Bananas.
Whole page Yellow book ads, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, so really it was like it was more cars and drivers and shifting the resources we were spending into more current methods of marketing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that.
We went from like 5% of internet bookings to like, we flipped that to like 90% of our bookings were coming from online
Unbelievable.
in a very short period of time.
Yeah. Your inside sales department at Prez was huge. You developed that.
And then I realized, you know, like I was kind of running things internally, but when you came to me and you're like, dude, like we're missing out on so much. That's how I got the job. I went to JJ and I said, dude, do you know how much revenue you're missing out on? Because of the amount of lazy people you have here?
Yeah.
And do you know who's really running your company? It's not you, and it's not your dispatch supervisor.
Drivers.
It's the drivers.
Yeah, they were. The prisons were
you know what I mean?
Prison, yeah.
And so we just, you know, and you were a very instrumental part of reinventing the way that company operated.
Destination
and we won't get into any of the details of that, but like we had to get, you know, this is something one of my business coaches taught me again years ago, was because, you know, after getting into the dealer business in solar, I was so afraid of losing people, right? I didn't understand. Like at Prez, we had hundreds of people coming in a week to apply for jobs.
Yep, no fear of loss.
In door-to-door and in sales, like you don't have that many people knocking down your door looking for an opportunity, right?
You got to come do full commission sales.
Because you get paid what you're worth. And that's what people are afraid of.
That is what they're afraid of.
So I went from this environment where like I was just constantly being fed people to interview and hire to fill a position to like, now I'm kind of scouting, right? And I was like so afraid. I was like so afraid of losing people that I would allow people to continue to ride the bus that I knew were toxic, that I knew were draining, that I knew were not good for the culture, the morale. And so years ago, like I hired a business coach specific to the construction industry, which includes solar and roofing and other things. And he was like, your biggest problem, dude, is you're not kicking people off the bus. You're in so much fear of letting somebody go that you're your own worst enemy. And so I came back from that like little business retreat thing thinking, I got to let some people off the bus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's such a prevalent thing in the industry too, man.
It's typically the people with their hand out. Like, what can you do for me? Not what can I bring to the table?
Almost always.
That was really hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
And same with my treatment centers, right? Like there's just people coming to apply. So this sales
very unique
industry that I got involved with, like, you know, especially, you know, we went through our separation and like door-to-door is unlike anything I've ever experienced. It's
different.
The amount of ego
yeah
is a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So I want to go back. Let's get into the transition. So how many years did you say at Bell and Prez?
Let me think. Actually, I was hired in 2006. I left in 2020. So I did the math wrong. It was almost 15 years.
So 15 years. Then in comes this company called Captain, and they want to buy, you know, they want to buy everything. And, you know, they do what companies do, and they say, hey, we don't need this position, this position, this position. And so all of a sudden, your position is disappearing because they're, you know, kind of, were they publicly traded?
No, they're not publicly traded, but the way it went down was they brought in a consulting firm to interview everybody, do a time study on everybody. And I knew, and JJ knew that when they ripped, you know, the Band-Aid off of Jeff Iverson, it was going to be uncovered that, you know, JJ had been allowing me to spend a lot of time working on
other projects,
Crossroads, Freedom House, and different things. The company was doing very well.
Agreed.
Which is why JJ allowed me to do so multiple things from that office. But I knew the minute they came in and started examining things,
it was over.
I was out the door. So they never even had an opportunity to say they were keeping me or not. It was just JJ and I made an agreement that I would stay on until the transition happened.
So this is where you do what you do and what all successful people do. I just started, listen, if we go back to June, the big, beautiful bill, and I'm like, everybody say whatever they want. I was like, I need to start looking at, maybe I'm going to do an AC business. Maybe I'm going to do life insurance, right? You start looking for, because I'm not going to lay down and die. That's not a part of my genes. So you start looking for another opportunity. You had seen, so part of the story is, if anybody's listened to all my shows, I'm at Prez. I'm in business development. I was feeling kind of burnt out. It was like I was there for 9 years. I was in sales and I sold the shit out of limousines. Was business development. So it was the destination management companies, large group transportation, things like that. But I was kind of burnt. And, there's our mutual friend, Justin Mott, at a meeting, and he's running around with his Vivint checks. And, he's like, and I'm like, no, dude, I got this Cadillac Escalade, and, they're paying for my gas, and I got a free phone, and I made 110 last year. I'm good, and he's like, okay, bro. And he's coming over with these, $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 checks a week. Yeah. And it almost seemed like a Ponzi. And so I go into Door2Door. What was it, about 2 years? It was about 2.5 years before you left. Yeah. 2 or 3 years.
I remember that conversation well.
Mm-hmm. JJ actually laughed. He was like, "You're gonna go knock doors." Laughed. It was, and he didn't mean to. JJ's a very loving, giving, caring human being.
Yeah, for sure.
But I remember, because I was 41, and I remember that. And I'm like, it was.
I remember looking at you thinking,
it was fucking crazy.
Did you relapse last night?
You're going to go do what?
You're going to what?
You're going to follow Justin Mott in the door knocking?
Well, and part of that was Justin had bounced around between, so you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he had been in the water delivery business, the air conditioning business,
the water delivery.
He was
not the water delivery guy.
Well, he was the water delivery guy.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He was a beast on the doors.
I remember thinking how crazy you were. Mm-hmm. To leave. And here's the thing is, I'm over here doing my thing, mm-hmm. And I remember a lot of conversations between us about juggling these different things and how do I get in on this? And mm-hmm. the character asset that you possessed was you were hungry.
I was hungry.
You were hungry. You were hungry for more.
I was. What's interesting to this part of my story is that you giving me the opportunity to be more later in the future created us an opportunity for you to transition out of. So if we weren't so interwoven in those things, first of all, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I'm at. If it wasn't for you giving me what I had, I wouldn't have been able to show you the opportunity in Door2Door. And so I was in for about 3 years. Your trip was ending at Presidential in Beltrans, and you were looking for other opportunities. And I remember you calling me, and by that time I was 2017 Rookie of the Year for Vivint, spent 2 years in alarms at Vivint, and I was in running a solar dealership with Arcadia by then. Yeah. And you were actually, at that point, I think what you saw was, oh, this isn't just about door knocking. And this is kind of what I want to hit on here, is that I was just talking to a guy in California, and he was going through. He's a little dealer, and he was going through everything. And he's like, "Well, when I'm in this utility, I pay my setters 50% from this, and when I'm over here, I do it from this, and when I'm over here, I'm like, well, what are your red lines for?" And he's like, "Well, if it's," I'm like, "Bro, and why do you do that?" And he's like, "Well, because sometimes my setter makes $100 a kilowatt over here, and over here they're making 80 cents a kilowatt, and over here," and I'm like, "No, bro, what's the aggregate? What's the, you're making your decisions on how you're setting your business model up from an emotional standpoint,
for sure,
instead of just finding the aggregate income level and then setting it at that, and then creating a tiered system where people can rise throughout it, right? So that it's fair for the business. The business has a margin that's, everybody just think a guy owns a dealer, oh, he's got his whole, he doesn't have his, we have operating costs, we have technology, we have rent, we have insurance, we have all the things, and we have all the risks. Guess what? In the dealer program, if you go off and screw off one of my deals, guess who's paying the 8 or 10 grand? Me. I have all the risk as a business owner. So the point here is that a lot of people, even at some levels of team leadership, and this is why I think people don't run successful solar businesses, is because they're always viewing things from a rep or a closer or a manager standpoint, and they're not viewing the business as a business, and the business is a business. If you look at, the big boys, the Freedoms, the Sunruns, some of these other larger solar companies, you don't go into their you don't go to the corporate office of Sunrun and they're making emotional decisions. No. These are very all database. It's database decisions. Yeah. This is a business, and so at any level, whether you're a closer or a setter, the call out here is to. So I want you to talk on that, because what I feel like you saw, oh, these guys are just over here knocking doors. And then when I was running the solar dealership, you're like, oh, this is a business. They have an office, they're running payroll, they have income, they have people working for them. There's a gross and a net revenue system here. They're doing marketing from the door-to-door is actually a marketing system. That's, so I think you saw some of those. And I want you to just kind of talk about, because you were blank on door-to-door, just like most of us were. Nobody knows about, you think of door-to-door, like in my life when I was growing up, I thought of a guy with a vacuum or a briefcase walking down the street in like the, 1920. Like, you don't do that anymore. Yeah. So I want you to talk about your transition from limos into running a solar business, because that's what you did. You approached it like a business from kind of day one. What you saw the parallels were, and what that transition into business ownership in solar was like. So
when I first looked at the opportunity, when I sat down with you, yeah, and you after about 5 times of you telling me, you need to take a look at this.
Yeah, there's money here.
And I'm the same guy. I'm like, dude, my power bill comes out of my account. I don't look at my bill. I had all the objections, right? And then when things were unraveling with Captain or Prez, and I remember when we sat down and you blew my mind with some of the facts. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I didn't view it as an opportunity to get into door-to-door sales. I viewed it as an opportunity to help educate people in my community that this was an option for them. Because, like, being born and raised here, if I didn't know that there was another option for me, mm-hmm. then I knew that there was thousands and thousands of people who also didn't know. Question 6, AB 405, all these things, right? Mm-hmm. So I knew nothing about door-to-door, but I knew that there was an opportunity to create a team of people to go out and educate. And I really didn't know how I was going to do that, And just the way my brain works was like, oh, I didn't dive in and start like trying to understand how to run a door knocking team. I went out and I found people to fill certain roles that had special skill sets, mm-hmm. The guy that I brought in to kind of help me build out the door-to-door piece of the company, didn't end up working out. And so I brought another guy in who had some experience and was successful at generating leads, a different way through a phone call center, right? Like,
was it Curtis?
That was Curtis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Curtis, because I knew Curtis from years before, and I knew that he was working for a guy named Travis.
After
he and I had conversations about
I always mentioned that he used to be a stripper. Just to bust his butt. He worked at Chippendale.
Curtis was a driver.
Anyway.
I mean, Curtis and
I just like to bust his balls in public.
Curtis and I go way back. Like, Curtis's family and my ex-wife's family have been friends for decades. Yeah. Stuff like that. So
jokes aside, you're starting to look for people.
I start building a business plan in my mind for how to build.
So let's say if you're a setter coming into the industry, and because I want to talk about paradigms, mm-hmm. the way in which you view a thing. So Stephen Covey, one of my favorite authors, Dr. Covey,
he's great.
The way in which you see is the way in which you do, and is the way in which you get. And so if you view this as a job, you're going to treat it like a job, and you're going to get, this job doesn't pay very much if it's a job. Because you just said I loved what you said. You said you get paid what you're worth.
You get paid what you're worth.
And when you start, you're not worth a lot usually. That doesn't mean that you're, as a human being, don't have worth. Or
of course.
It means that as a skill set, right? That's like saying if I'm going to go be a doctor in 8 to 12 years, when I start as a freshman in med school, I have zero worth. I'm not worth much in the medical field, right? Like they won't even let me.
You can't come in any kind of a.
Don't even do anything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we're talking about here with worth. I want to clarify that. But in this industry, you get paid what you're worth. And that can include your self-belief system. It can include how you see yourself. It can include how you see the opportunity. And if you see the opportunity as just a job, you're going to treat it like just a job, and it's going to pay you worse than just a job. If you see it as an opportunity for a career. So let's go back and just kind of look for some parallels here. If you're a setter coming into this and you're like, okay, well, first I need to learn how to set, and then I need to learn how to close. And then once I learn how to close, I need to try and find somebody who can set for me, like who can help me structure out these jobs. And I think it's an interesting thing, because as business owners, both of us, what we're looking for is who can run a team, who can run a call center, who can help me recruit. So like me, I have that, Curtis runs the call center. That's not mine, but I need a Curtis.
Yeah.
I need a recruiter. I don't do my recruiting. Like I have a company that does my recruiting, and they send people in, and then we do the interview. We do those processes. But it's like I want to look for those things. But I think that's lost on the lower level, even at the setter closer, because they're not focusing on how do I build a business out of this, because they're stuck in that rep mentality. So I just wanted to kind of hit on some of that parallel because it's important. So there you go. You start to look for these things.
So it's a numbers game, right? You cycle
Just
through
like everything.
A lot of people, and one of the things I think that we're probably both good at is identifying people's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then pouring into people whose strengths you've identified are going to help you build a very strong foundation and a concrete team, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my experiences prior to being in the solar industry helped me to really understand not to judge a book by its cover. Like I'm going to go back to Prez for a minute. Like some of my highest producers and earners at Prez were guys that were second chancers that knew, like, wow, like every ride is a commission and every ride is a cash tip. And you would have you would have the guys that would come in, get their manifest, complain about it, go do the jobs.
No CDL. They weren't trying to do anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd go do that. Then they'd come back to the office. They'd complain about their 3 rides, no tips. Well, did you go try to get a Kelly? Did you go, what did you try to, did you ask your customer if they needed a ride to a show tonight? You know what I mean? They just don't think like this.
They don't.
You know what I mean?
It's so interesting that you're saying this, because I remember how hard, bro. I remember going. So Monique did our dispatching for, I believe she's still over there. Amazing human being. Love Monique. But she would give me my manifest as a new driver, 1 or 2 rides. It would be like an airport Kelly, and then, but I remember the first thing I saw was, okay, I'm going to be in a sedan or an Escalade unless I get a CDL. How many CDL drivers? And I'm like, oh, there's a roster of 40 drivers and 8 of them have a CDL. So that's a shorter list. So if I get a CDL, which is a commercial driver's license, meaning I can drive the party buses, the stretch SUVs. So I'm like, the first thing, I remember how proud I was, like so happy I got my CDL. And then I'm like, okay, well, the strip club runs, if I go to a hotel and I get a strip club run, I was doing, I almost got fired for doing strip club run because I was doing an advertisement on Craigslist back then. And you guys thought I was stealing a ride. And what I actually did was I was actually booking myself as my own driver. And I was posting strip club runs on Craigslist back then. And I would get clients, and I would then, because the strip club would pay me $50 a head. Yeah. And I remember, dude, taking manifests that were like starting at 4:30 a.m. airport run in a sedan, and then working all day and night, just like I did with Doors, and then doing strip club runs, and then going home and sleeping for 3 hours, and then coming back in and doing an SUV run at 4:30 in the morning, and then going in the back of the SUV to sleep so that I could go and do another run at 8:30 at night, like. Exactly what you're saying. Like when I look back to you know
who they are.
Yeah.
You can put them in 3 different categories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay. I'm not judging any of them, but you know, some people are there to be given what they can. Some people are there.
But isn't this life? Some people are at life to be.
You know what I mean? It's just like the guy that's content, you know.
Yeah, content. Working
for $15 an hour and paying his rent, his rent at his weekly, just whatever. Like there's different personality types, right? But the thing that we both possess is we're hungry.
Yeah.
We want more.
100%.
You know what I mean?
I just did this. Yeah.
The funny thing is to be able to like rise above the mindset that like the ship has sailed. Like I didn't do anything conventional. You know, society says you're going to go to school, you're going to graduate high school, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a degree, you're going to go use that degree to get a job, you're going to put 30 years in somewhere, hopefully be able to retire. You know what I mean? I didn't do any of that. I was 32 when I got clean.
Yeah.
For me, I felt like the ship has sailed. So I had to create the lifestyle that I wanted. And thank God I had somebody asking me, like, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Because, and I tell this story to guys all the time. If you would have asked me in the first month of my sobriety, like, what do you want? I would have wanted a job at a car wash.
Yeah.
Making tips license, every day.
A car, a bus pass. Yeah. Yeah.
A little car, a driver's license.
Yeah.
Maybe car insurance.
Yeah, maybe. I can roll dirt.
I pay for the first month. The rest of the year, I don't know.
See what happens.
I get the card and then I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like something happens, right? With guys like us. And I believe that guys like us with our histories possess unbelievable character assets that if channeled in the right direction can just produce amazing results, which we see now, you know, like, you know, there's people with degrees who
work for us,
put in 20 years, you know, I have at one of my facilities, I have 150 medical personnel, including 2 MDs, 5 nurse practitioners, and the rest nurses
that
all work for
facility.
me.
Yeah.
I sign their checks.
Yeah.
I barely graduated high school. So like I broke through that barrier of like, well, things are going to be limited to you because of your life choices.
You know, what's interesting is I talk to my daughter. Well, I talk to my teams about this, but this is how impactful that we can be as human beings, not just on our teams, but on our families. So, you know, Lotus has this thing where, you know, I'm always pushing her. And I got this thing from Kenny Cox. I don't know if you ever met Kenny Cox from Vivint, one of the absolute GOAT just of a human being, just one of the most.
Heard the name.
Amazing. But he did this podcast. Man, I can't remember who it was with, but he said this thing. And I spent time with Kenny and like, you know, but this was just something I heard on one of his podcasts. And he said he does this thing with his kids. And be around the dinner table. And he says, you know, his name's Kenny Cox. And so he says, you know, Cox have good vocabulary. Coxes are honest. The Coxes are grateful. The Coxes are entrepreneurs. The Coxes have good teeth. Coxes tell the truth. Right. So I embedded that. I started doing that with Lotus. And I'm like, barbers are business owners. Barbers have, I told her because she has braces on. Barbers have good teeth. And now she's like, she sees why it's so, and it's a weird thing, but she sees the importance of it. Yeah. Right. And what I really focus on the business owner aspect of it. And she would start to say, you know, I'm like, because I get her prepared. I'm like, you know, I have a stock account for her and yes, for her, you know, future. Yeah. And, you know, she started off with, well, I don't want to go to college. And I'm like, well, the only way you're not going to go to college is if by the time you're 18, you can start a business that's making at least $10,000 a month. So if you can make, as an entrepreneur, if you can make $10,000 a month before you're 18 or 19, then we can talk about looking at that as an option as opposed to college. Because I actually do believe that the best way to learn business is just to do business. Yeah. But other than that, you need to go get the technical skills. And she used to say, I'm going to, you know, because I'm like, oh, you want a car? Because this is how I get her future. And, yeah, I want a car. So, well, what are you going to do? She says, well, I'm going to go to In-N-Out. And I'm like, well, how much let's say In-N-Out pays $16. We have this amazing gal that helps us clean our house. And so she runs a house cleaning service and she charges us like $250, right? It's a lot of money. And so I said, Lotus, you know Gloria, right? She says, yeah, I know Gloria, right? And I'm like, well, you know Gloria, she runs a business, Clean Her House, right? And she goes, yeah. And I go, well, how much do you think she charges me? She goes, I don't know. I says, $250. And she goes, what? And I go, so get your phone out. And and I'm like, so add up $17 times 8. She ends it up. She goes, how much is that? And I go, okay, now do $250 divided by 4. And she goes, what's that? I go, so that's how long it takes Gloria to clean her house, 4 hours. And I go, how much is that per hour? She goes, oh. And I go, and the other cool thing is, you know, Gloria's daughter, when she does work, she's actually working for, and I said, what if you had a business like that and you did your friends? So it's like, we take this stuff, but I only have this thought process now because I understand entrepreneurship and business. I didn't mean to go too long into that.
Oh, that's good.
But just one of these amazing, you know, things that we get to give our children and change their lives because of the way that our paradigms have changed over the world. And so it's just like, it's a call out too, like, you know, do more, be more. So I want to.
It's super cool. I just want to bring up.
No, please.
So
yeah.
Caden, who's
Your
just
son?
a little bit older than
Lotus, yeah.
Lotus.
Big dude. How tall is that guy?
Bro, he's almost 6'3".
He's trying to catch up to me.
And he's 15.
Yeah, it's a beast.
So we had this really interesting conversation before he went to high school, because he was going to go to Gorman, and, you know, he's not into sports, and, you know, why are you going to Gorman? And it's like the traditional, you know, the other side of the family. And so I was able to sit down and have a conversation, like, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to own a business. You know what I mean? And fast forward. So he ended up getting accepted into Northwest Career Tech, and he's in their construction management program. And if he plays his cards right, he'll graduate from that school with an associate's degree.
This is amazing.
But the cool thing is, like, Caden keeps asking me, like, how old do I have to be before I can start going door to door?
Right now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Let's go.
Can you imagine being excited to learn how to prospect at that age?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't even like,
No.
you know.
No,
so-
check this out. So I listen, gang, just so you understand, this is change your paradigm so you can change your kid's paradigm, so you can change your team's paradigm. But so
Yes.
Lotus has to go on this trip every year, and wants to go on this trip, and her school makes you start a business. So last year it was candles. This year they did the school dance at my office, and that was 4 of them were on the board, and it was, you know, $40 per ticket, but they didn't have enough, and she was $200 shy. And she's like, what can I do? I'm like, let's go to Costco and get some candy. She's like, I'm not selling candy. I says, but will you go door to door? And she says, yeah. I said, what about a car wash? And she said, yeah. So I make her this flyer in our neighborhood. And we have this, you know, gated off neighborhood. So I felt safe putting her, you know, 13-year-old girl on doors by herself. It's a little much.
Sure.
Super safe community. So I made her 30 of these flyers, and I said, I want you to go to each. And I know everybody in my neighborhood's an owner. And I know all this way. So I know them all. So I think we have 43 houses. So I make her the flyer, and I'm like, if you want to go on the trip, you're going to go figure out who wants a car wash. And she was daunted, man. She took them, and she headed out the door, and she came back, dude, like 2 hours later, and she was sweating, and she's like, I got 2 cars.
Nice.
I'm like, tell me about it. And she says, well, you know, I went up to doors, and they were kind of weird, but when I started explaining, because I gave her some instructions in her flyer, and Mr. Jacks, she actually had 3 cars because Mr. Jacks gave her 2 cars. So she got 2 customers with 3 cars at, you know, I think it was $60 or $70 each we charged. And I, of course, helped her clean the cars, but she got the customers. But she saw the power of creating an ad, marketing the ad, generating the sale, completing the thing, and then getting paid for the business. And I'll always remember this. Me and you were at Prez, and this, I have never forgot. It's interesting. I think of this now. I go on my Instagram, and if I go on my Instagram and I go to my business dashboard, in the last 30 days, I've had 67,000 views on my marketing. So me and you are walking across the street from Presidential Limousine to this sandwich shop. And this is like, gang, all of this is relatable in business, because if you're not marketing is marketing. And we go to this guy, and they have the best sandwiches. And we go, are you advertising? And he goes, no. And we go, why? And he goes, because I'm here. And me and you had this joke, and it was, they must know I'm here because I'm here. And we would say it in kind of this hillbilly, because he was a kind of big, he was suspenders kind of guy, right? He was like, they must know I'm here because I'm here. And I'm like, that's not marketing. But it taught Lotus the power of the marketing. And in this business, as door-to-door reps, we're marketers. So
I forgot all about that.
Yeah,
That was so funny.
They must know we're here for you.
Advertise. We're open.
We're open. Just drive by, you'll see us. So I want to talk about a couple things. One, I'd like to talk about our breakup, because it's part of the industry. It's part of life. It's part of human nature. It's part of all the things. And I would like to talk about after that. So we won't spend a ton of time on that, but I think it has to do with relationships just in general. And I want to talk about your experience in the industry and kind of where you think things are at, right? You're a business owner. You've been at, you were part owner of Bell Trans before they, sold and did their things, or not Bell Trans, but Bell Solar Electric. Then, you spent some time at One Solar and a few others. So I want to kind of talk about the industry experience in total from a business owner's.
Sure.
So, we came into it, we did solar for a little while together, and we ended up parting ways. I took that super personal myself. The reason that this is important, gang, is because, through my career, and I'm going through a similar thing with, with Legacy, right? Where it's no, don't be emotional. And it's like, okay, hey, gang, I'm human, right? We're all human. And you've had these experiences with some of your partners, right? Where, they break up and it hurts. It hurts, and you think about it, and it's painful. Just like if you broke up with a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a friend, and these people want to rationalize away the human experience and what we're doing. And so I think it's relevant, because in the industry, what I've noticed, and I've seen owners, right, is you can have a setter that works for a closer, and the setter goes off somewhere and the closer gets his feelings hurt. Or you can have a closer that works for a manager and the closer goes off somewhere and it hurts the manager's feeling. Yeah. Or you can have a manager that works for a regional and the manager goes off and it hurts the regional's feeling. Or you can have a regional that leaves a company and the regional goes off and everybody gets their feelings hurt. And these are prevalent, and I've seen companies leave companies. I mean, Sunder and Legacy was a great example. Sunder and Freedom was a great example. The reason that the relationship portion of this conversation I think is imperative is because, one, what I really like to do in the industry is like, hey, gang, it's okay to have feelings.
Yeah, for sure.
It's okay to be human. There's no shame in it. Don't get gaslighted. Like, right. So it's like with our breakup, I think some of my breakups, and it was the same with Legacy. I had a lot of love, like people that I still care and respect about over there. And some of the things that I just really didn't agree with on a fundamental basis that really hurt my feelings. And I still deal with those things, and I'm still in that, right? Yeah. I'm still in the middle of that situation with them where I'm still trying to find a financial resolution. So everybody's like, get over it. I'm like,
it's tough.
Yeah. And I was just one with my therapist, and she's like, you can forgive, but when you're in the middle of something, you gotta. So why is it relevant? That? So we go through, we split up. And, from my paradigm, I felt hurt. I felt abandoned. And I really carried that sword for a long time, if I'm super honest. It's been really interesting because we had one of your guys, Mike, actually did a video of me on my car. And, man, it like hurt my feelings so bad, and it carried on more. And what actually rekindled our relationship was we saw each other in a mall, and you tried to rekindle, and I was like, no, I still got my sword. I'm still going to be mad. I'm still pissed off. And what wasn't happening was Jeff Iverson wasn't sitting in his bed at night wondering if Lee Barber was okay. So what I'm saying is that, I mean, to an extent, but what I'm saying there is I'm taking responsibility for, my anger, my hate. Sure. That's my burden to carry. That sword's a heavy sword to carry.
I get it.
And I carried it for a long time, and that had nothing to do with you. That's my sword. I can forgive and let some of that go. And those are some of the things I personally have a hard time doing, just to be super blunt. So from your paradigm, let's just talk about that split up, what it was like for you. So that was it for me. It was just hurtful. I felt abandoned, those things, and I carried it for a long time.
I didn't quite, so my experiences in the previous years helped shape the way I view situations and the lens that I look at things through.
Of course, you're credit. Yeah.
I had been through some very difficult and challenging moments with a guy that I used to be in the sober living business with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I know who you're talking
Dave.
about.
And,
yep, of course.
And I had been through some, Richard Holligan. Oh, you just love that guy's voice.
Oh, man.
So I had been through a lot of different types of business situations, some breakups, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
I was just viewing things from more of a traditional, like, business standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And
I was viewing it through a very personal.
For me, what it was is there was this perfect storm, right?
Mm-hmm.
I leave Prez. I'm in a little bit of fear. I start this dealer. We open this office. We find out that, the closure is happening. We get notice that no advances are going to be paid out.
At Beltrans and Presidential.
No, from Arcadia.
Oh,
we got it. We got the notice.
Got it.
You can still sell, but there's no advances. And we had this team
The
of
world was
people.
starting
And
to change,
so I had hired a guy to start to do some marketing, and like for some reason, all these leads were coming out of Pahrump. And I remember my former business partner coming to me and saying, well, like, we've got to find somebody who can do these installs if Arcadia doesn't do it in Pahrump. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
So my other business partner somehow was connected to Alexia at Bell.
Sure.
And she was like, we'll do the installs.
Yeah.
So, like, the one thing I didn't do was communicate a lot of that with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so from my perspective, I was lining up a second option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because in every business I've ever been involved with, like, I'm not going to just rely on one vendor for something. I have to have plan
Sure.
B and C. You know what I mean? So I didn't realize how personal it was to you until, like, you came to my house and you explained how you were feeling. And I think at that point it was just a little bit, it was kind of too late. The damage had been done. Right.
Yeah. The interesting thing here for me, and like, this is part of this is great for any listener, because what we look at, like, and I talked to my therapist I just did a show with her, which is coming out right before this show. So anybody that's listening to both will know the conversation. What I was talking about was, so there's a book, Crucial Conversations. I don't know if you ever, it was Seth Grinney's dad, Joseph Grinney, wrote it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
He's an amazing human being. But what it talks about is the time in between an incident happening and communication can be devastating.
Yeah.
So there's two things here that, right, I think all of us need to watch out for in our lives. And one, I think what you've kind of seen since is, we don't want to make emotional decisions in the business, but the business has emotional components to it.
Well, sure, because especially when you're in business with people you have relationships with,
and you almost always develop it. So what happens is what we have to watch out for, I think, all of us, and whether it's a setter, closer manager, is that paradigms determine viewpoint, right? And so you had a vastly different paradigm, and we can put expectations into this. I had different expectations than you did.
Yeah.
So one, we had different expectations, and two, we had a different viewpoint from our paradigm. You viewed everything as a business decision. I had been in Door2Door for 2 years, and it was fairly new, right? I hadn't really, like, when I'm saying, hey guys, don't, the guy I was talking to in California, you're making decisions as a rep. Hey, me too, right? I did all that. That's why I know better now, is because I've done that, right? So I learned through it. But, like, looking back, and some of the lessons here are, like, one, make sure that your viewpoint is the same when you're starting something with somebody, and what those expectations are, because that helps later avoid some of those, some of the destructions in relationships. And I've tried my hardest, and man, I was bad at it, Jeff, where you were like, in the beginning, not just with you, but, I've made mistakes with people, people would leave, and I'm like, man, I spent 2 years showing you, and you just leave. Like, that hurts my feelings. And anybody that says they don't go through that at some point in their career, I don't know that I believe it. I think somebody's going to encounter a personal relationship somewhere. So I love that, because I'd never heard that side of it. This is the first time hearing that side, and it really enlightens me into, like, wow, I really just had the wrong type of the bombs are coming. That's my calendar invite has to do that, or I'm like, I don't even know something's happening.
Like it was never a thought to me that we were parting ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was I'm pivoting, like, you know what I mean? And in opening Crossroads and opening Freedom House, like I had to pivot a lot.
Yeah.
So I was pivoting, and I think I overestimated like our friendship and what it could withstand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think I should have done and there's a point I'm going to make here after I say this. I should have done a better job at communicating with you, because I remember the day we were sitting in my living room. This was like just a few days after you found out, and we still had a few things, that we were intertwined with. Mm-hmm. And you said, you're going to go through this same thing one day. You're going to go down the rabbit hole. Mm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you remember telling me.
I do remember that. Well, because I knew you would. It's part of the industry.
And I've gone down the rabbit hole multiple times over the years.
It's inevitable.
I've poured into people who I thought had a different level of loyalty, than they did. And so it's a tough lesson to learn over the years, that people are going to make whatever decision is best for them.
Exactly.
And I've arrived at a place now where I'm very, very open with my people about if there is a better opportunity for you, share it with me, and I will give you my blessing. Like, I want what's best for you. I want what's best for my people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't do a good job at communicating with you. And there was a couple factors there that we don't want to get into.
No, there's a lot of
money. You know what I mean? But there was the partnership I had created didn't mesh well with.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
The partnership that you and I had.
Yeah.
And
no, I mean, and this is the thing. It's right. Life is complicated. Yeah. And the unfortunate thing for me was, it's funny because I went through a similar. I may be going through 2.0 with Seth now. I think I probably am. I think he's pissed, but I went through 1.0 of that with Seth, where I trained Seth Grinny in solar. He was an absolute beast. Is that yours? So anyway. I went through that with you. The point is that it was, it's a sword I carried personally for a long time. And I think it was because the wound cut the deepest. But looking back, just hearing that, how much sooner could I have put it down or not had it at all? Yeah. Had I had the openness or willingness to try and seek to discover rather than just shut down. And it was complicated, so I don't know how that it would have worked out. Yeah. But with Seth, I trained Seth on doors and solar, and definitely don't have anything to do with Seth's success in the industry.
Sure.
But I did talk. It took me a couple months to talk his ass into solar because he was in alarms. And, I took him out. We spent time. I really wanted that to come on. And he sends me a text. He says, hey, I'm going to, go over here to this company, Legacy. And, man, I was butthurt. I didn't talk to him for like 2 years. First of all, it was because, I'm not a Tinder date.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. But
he said, I'm
not a Tinder date, bro. Call me, let's go to lunch or something.
Yeah.
But it was still, and it's like, am I better than that now? I am for sure to a degree. I had Elijah, and this is me just being open with everybody in the industry and who I am as a human. I'm not perfect. And listen, bro, I come from war. People I was born into I come from a really difficult life in childhood. I was in prison for 9.5 years. So for me, a war, you're out to get me, a war mentality is almost my go-to, which is the absolute wrong tools for the job. But it's easy for me to pick them up in the wrong times too. So that's why I'm just being, I went through a thing like this with Elijah, one of my guys who had come in from the gym industry and worked at Safeway, and so, taught him everything. Very successful, super successful young man, still works over at Ion. He's a great guy. And he left me, and I didn't think it was quite in the right way. And I knew something, listen, guys, when they're newer and, they're kind of rookies and they've never left somewhere and they're doing sneaky shit, and you're like, I've seen, it's like Lotus, right? She doesn't, this is the only sneaky thing she's ever done. She wanted some Skittles and we had some of the little packs and she double-handed it And it was just funny because we just busted her chops on it. We're like, Lotus, you got 2. And she's like, I have 2. But it's like Lotus trying to sneak 2 packs of Skittles past me. Yeah. Like, bro, I see what you're doing, right? Like, this isn't my first rodeo. And I brought him in like 5 or 6 times. And I'm like, if you're leaving, bro, just tell me, brother. Yeah. It's okay. I want you to be okay. And he didn't. And, I found out the hard way by, how did I find out? Oh, one of his guys came in and snitched on him and said that he had tried to recruit him and all the stuff, the things, right? Which are the things. It's the ocean and the waves. Like, don't stand at the ocean and scream at it to stop sending the waves because it's a waste of fucking time, right? So, I was mad, but like, how have I changed? When I left Legacy and all this shit happened to Legacy, he threw up this like, pretty ironic, because he wasn't paid. That's his business, but he wasn't paid and he was pissed about it. And he posted a thing about it. He's like, oh, Lee Barber now has left Legacy too. I guess all right. And I got it and I screenshotted it and I sent it to him. And I'm like, fucking ironic, brother. Like, this actually makes me laugh. I hope you're doing good. And we went to lunch and we like, so have I changed over the years? 100% I've changed over the years in my paradigm. It's like guys should be able to go do whatever they want and they should be successful and, all these things. So, it's just a roundabout. Our relationship was one of many stories like this that you and I have both been through in many assets. And I guess my point was just like, try not to carry the sword too long. Because for me, it was a heavy cross to burden, and it's from the deepest relation, the people that I love the most, that do those things. So, yeah.
I remember walking by you at the forum.
I was pissed,
and we saw each other, and we just kept walking. And I stopped, and I said, "No, I'm not just going to walk by this guy as if we don't have 12, 13 years of history together."
More than that, bro. We met in 2007.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've known each other a long time.
Long time.
It's been a long time.
And
love you, man.
I love you too.
Glad to be back. With you.
We traveled together. We raised our kids together. We
did the
so
births
much
of our
together.
kids. You were at my wedding, my best man.
Yeah. So what did you do with all your wedding photos?
I still have them, but we don't have any. No, of course I wouldn't do that. We don't have. We never had any of our one wedding photo printed of me and Misty, but no, I kept all those. Those are good memories. I think that's the things
that's another good lesson.
Yeah,
is that most things can be eventually worked out between two mature people.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
That's how I feel with. Seth's probably pissed at me, but
I'm really grateful that we were able to come full circle. Because you were and always have been since I met you a very, very important part of my life. We got into some shenanigans together, and I had a lot of fun days with you.
Yeah,
and we grew up together in the business world.
We did.
You know what I mean? And I think that there's possibilities for us to continue to grow in the future,
100%.
and that should send a message to people that are carrying around the weight of resentment and anger, like. Very little of this stuff is personal.
I agree.
I've had people come in to my organization and leave with some of my people, and I just learned not to take it personal.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to do.
In fact, at this point in the game, I'm like, what do I need to be doing better? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do I need to improve as a leader? What am I not like? If it's some of them I could care less about.
You actually want them gone.
But the ones that are hardworking and produce, what could I have done better? And for example, like I'm not great with doing one-on-ones. I'm not great with like getting people into my office and asking how, life is going for them outside of work. And
I'm not either.
I don't want people to just feel like a number with me. You know what I mean? I literally am like on a purpose-driven mission, and I happen to land in the solar space. I don't, and I'm kind of getting involved in a few different things right now, but like the cool thing about learning the door-to-door business and learning about prospecting is the communication skills, overcoming objections, teaching people about prospecting, because you can take those skills anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so I love being able to create opportunities for people. A good majority of the people that work for me outside of my licensed medical and clinical people are people who come from the same kind of background I came from.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's really, I get like a high out of that almost. You know what I mean? Teaching people how to not settle, teaching people how to dream. Like I talk to people about a vision board. What's a vision board? Well, what do you want? What are some of the things you want in life? Oh, how are you going to get it? Like, so helping people dive into like developing a plan and a timeline, and like, those are the things that I love about this industry. And wherever, solar is volatile right now.
It is.
I love solar. I still think that there's a very bright future in solar. I think that it looks different than it did a few years ago. I think the margins are going to shrink,
Got to sell more shit.
You know what I mean? We got to sell more stuff. We got to maybe diversify, but we're not quitters.
No.
You know what I mean? And
no, I love that. So let's talk about your experience in the industry. So you spent a small amount of time with Arcadia. Then you spent a substantial amount of time with Bell. And on the Bell side, I think what's always helped me in my career is actually working with Arcadia. Because Arcadia now, in Nevada, I'm with Sun Solar Solutions. Sun Solar Solutions is like a super buff Arcadia, in the sense that Arcadia was just like an EPC, man. They were raw dog, dude.
Yeah.
Like we were, they had a paper contract on one of them. Like I remember like uploading, like one of their contracts was like, it was crazy, bro. We were doing our designs on Citon.
I remember.
And dude, you'd have to have either a Mac or a pen, because you'd have to like put dots on the point of, like, Arcadia was like construction only. And John Murphy, amazing human being, and Arcadia did some great installations. Later in their years they had some. But I learned a lot from working really closely on the EPC side, and actually I learned a lot just having to run my own business in solar. Like we've never missed a paycheck. We've never, like, there's some really things that I'm really proud of as a business owner in solar. But I learned a lot from my early Arcadia days. And you went through a lot of that with Bell, where you really got in with Alexia at a partner level on the EPC side, right? You guys actually became owners. You co-owned. So just talk a little bit about that, and then, some of your transitions, and I know Bell ended up selling, and then you went around, and like some of the people that you have worked with are now bankrupt, I believe. Some of the, I think Universal Solar Direct, I don't want to misquote anybody's if they're not here anymore, but I think some of the people that you were installing for you are now not in the game anymore, right? Due to the solar industry being that. So I'd just like to kind of get your experience and like what it's been like working from the EPC side, being with some of the installers that aren't around anymore, and kind of where you think we're at now.
So I learned I feel like one of the most important things I learned at Bell was, we were the sales team for Bell, but we still worked on a red line model. So there was still a division between ops and sales.
Yep.
Right. And we were working on a red line model, and we, about 6 months into it, started experiencing a recession. And this is when, COVID happened and things started to become more and more expensive. And this is where communication between partners is so important, and so is transparency. Because as things got more expensive and more difficult on the ops side, our CEO, who I love dearly and is an amazing, brilliant...
Shout out to Alexia.
Shout out to Alexia Cooper. She's an amazing, brilliant woman, and has probably the biggest heart.
Gem of a human.
She kept trying to run the operation at our current baseline. And part of it was...
Which was inexperience.
In fear of confronting my other partner about the need for more revenue on the Bell side, right? Which means a red line increase. And when you're in the business and you hear red line increase, what do you think? Less money for me, right? And so this thing just started brewing between the partners that eventually couldn't go away. And the one partner just has a history of just, I think, brewing coffee and tea is like her favorite thing to do. You know what I mean? Just like
stirring the fucking pot.
And it's just black,
nasty,
black
good.
coffee, like
bad.
So, but it was interesting because what I realized was a lot of these smaller companies that have gone out of business were beholden to their salespeople out of fear. You know what I mean?
And historically, just to chirp in on this, I think what I've learned is don't choke the goose's neck that's laying the golden egg. The EPC is the golden egg. Like they need a margin to operate, because if they don't, your pipeline's leaving, your money's leaving, all the work you did's leaving, because you killed the goose because you just wanted so much money. You don't leave them any. So, But anyway.
So the lesson that I learned, and then learned again and again and again, as we moved from installer to installer that went bankrupt and bankrupt. You know what I mean? Like Universal Solar Direct is out of business. They're not doing solar anymore. One solar we used for a while, from what I understand, is we're installing in 4 or 5 states and is down to 1 now and not doing very well. They closed down the operation year. And part of that is because they're not operating and offering red lines that ensure the profitability on their side. You know what I mean? And as salespeople, I think we tend to be not greedy, but looking out for us, right? You know what I mean? But when I'm presented with the facts and I see, like they've got to increase their margin to stay in business. Like there are a lot of people running smaller sales orgs out there that will just jump from installer to installer looking for 5 cents, 10 cents, 5 or 10 cents a watt. You know what I mean? Not taking into consideration, like, wow, this EPC, if I whittle them down to death, they're not going to be around in 5 months. No, promises I'm making my customers about warranties and all this, you know what I mean? So they're just short-minded people, where if you look at it as a true partnership, like, I want to be selling for an installer that's going to be around a long time, and to be able to fulfill the promises we're making as a sales order, right? Now, who would have ever thought? How many people were selling for Titan that thought that, man, Titan's going to be out of business in 2 years, and all my customers I've made all these promises to, are going to kind of be screwed. Like, who's going to do the warranty work? Who's going to do this?
What was it, Empire before them? I mean, some of these big boys. It's a weird thing because, and not to interrupt, but I personally feel from an industry standpoint that the smaller, there was a time when and because times have changed, that's all there is to it. Business has changed. Who thought Sunlight was going to go out of bankrupt? Who, bro, if you would have told me that, you could have said, hey, this little regional installer over here, going to go bankrupt. Then the big boys started going bankrupt, and then the banks started going bankrupt. And so when I say I've changed my paradigm, is because the business has changed, and if my paradigm has to change, right? So it's like, I think like the regionalized installer is this, to me, I'm like, I'm seeing this stuff with Infin now. And what I've seen with some of the big boxes, including the one that I used to work for, is that it's really easy for them to get, for almost any installer, if they make the wrong decisions. But it's really easy to get far out over your skis unknown when you have, a 1, 2, 3 month pipeline process. And banks, like, what did Infin just do? Well, in June, what happened was, it was, to get certain domestic discounts, you had to have 40% of the system was domestic content. And then the big beautiful bill comes out and it says, it tricked you. It's actually 45%. And are you ready for this? It's retro to June 15. And people are like, hold on, we have, 5,000 jobs in flight. They're in the air with this 40. What are you saying? What does that look like? And then one of the things my former CEO, Doug Robinson, said that always stuck with me is like, have you ever been at the gym and you see those guys and they got the rope and that's tied to a pole down there and they're flying that rope? And he's like, what the solar industry is like, is it's like one of those waves. Oh yeah. And it's going and it's going and it's going. And then finally it hits that pole, and that pole, you know who the pole is? The sales rep. Yep. And everybody in between is a bank and a supply chain and, CED Green Tech delivering materials and the EPC and boots on the roof. And at the end is boom, sales rep. And you're like, oh shit, big change. Yeah. Okay. All right. So gang, we went technical error by Lee Barber running his own podcast. We went dead in an hour 20. So I have no clue what the hell we were talking about when the battery went dead on the recorder, but we're just going to kind of pick it up from there and kind of go into an outro because I don't know where we left off. So gang, you're going to hear whatever the hell we were talking about, and then you're just going to pop into this new reality. So surprise. So let's just outro. It's been, it's been for me, and this is important because I think we're all human.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things here, and what I was saying was, and I forgot about this, was Mikey made that video of me. And then he actually came into my office and he apologized for it. And that actually started me putting down my sword, and then kind of opened up to you. And then we went to lunch and we started to kind of rekindle. And it's like, even this, it's like, God, man, just hearing what you said today, I was like, I carried that thing around for like 5 years. And if I just would have been open enough to go back in and say, like, dude, why'd you do that? And you would have said, I just saw it completely different.
Yeah.
And I could have been like, wow, that makes sense. You know, I don't have to frenemy you for, you know, love hate you, because that's really what it was. I love hated you.
Sure.
And that's the most powerful kind, is the love hate. Like, I love you so much, now I hate you. And like, whoa, I can really, like, you know, and I could be having a good day and go dig that dead body up because I'm addicted to cortisol. I'm like, I feel way too good today. Who can I fucking dig up? Like, let me go dig up this dead body. So, you know, the outro here I want to say is, I'm grateful for you, man. And like, I would not be here in my life. I get emotional. Man, that day at, where was it? West Care. You know, and you gave me a shot. And, you know, 9 years at Prez. And I'm so grateful for that, because it taught me, I didn't know how to write an email. Like, literally, you know, I was an inmate.
I remember.
I was an inmate, dude. I got out of that place with, you know, a box of clothes. And the only reason I had a car is because I went to a halfway house and worked at a car wash and saved all my money and bought a car, which created. But, you know, because of you, I am here, you know, and the reason that you're where you're at is not actually because of me. It's because of John Taylor and Justin Mott. Those dudes put a ripple in you. So you put a ripple in these ripples that, like, at some point in the pond intersect. And the amazing thing here is, like, you know, that connectivity and that life force and like that gratitude and like that love and like, so my thing was like, thank you for, you know, everything that you've done in my life and allowing the grace to give me the years that I needed to kind of heal and to be, you know, open and honest and welcoming me back in my feelings and being open to those. I really appreciate it. And I'm just grateful to be here with you, man. And I'm grateful to put that sword down, because that was my burden. And I carry it was heavy. And that's just a shout out, man. Like, you know, guys, if you got a burden and you're carrying a heavy sword, you don't know what the other person's paradigm looks like. So,
yeah. And I'm equally as grateful to be here with you. And I don't want you to discount the importance in the role that you played in me being where I'm at today in this industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I come from a mindset of, like, one of my favorite quotes of all time is Zig Ziglar. And it's like, I can get or have everything I want in life if I just help as many people get what they want.
That quote.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've been a driving force and a great example to me of perseverance over the years, you know?
Yeah.
Your whole Achilles, you know, you taught me a lot. You taught me a lot. We learned a lot together and we had a lot of fun times, and you know, and even through trials and tribulations, we learn, you know, and that's kind of sometimes how we have to, guys like us, we're hard-headed. Yeah. Sometimes we got to learn the hard way. You know what I mean? I got some people in my life right now that are going to learn some lessons the hard way.
Yeah. Fuck around, find out.
Fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? And that's not a threat. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if we're going to be in business and self-employed and we're going to continue to have a lifestyle beyond our wildest dreams, that's in what I would consider extraordinary.
I agree.
We have to be able to persevere. We have to be able to pivot. We can't get into the victim mentality, and we have to be able to adapt to change.
Yeah, I agree with that. Listen, Jeff, I love you, man. So I'll put your link in the bio of this. So we're going to Jamie Lynn. I just filmed her last week, so she'll come out. That's Therapy Healing Forward, I think the name of that one. So that one's cool.
Cool.
He's super vulnerable in that. And then this one will come out after that. When it does, if people would like to contact you regarding solar, You're very dynamic. So whether they like to contact you for recovery or solar or inspiration, you are an inspirational dude. And I know we have a lot of guys out there in the industry that are in the recovery. So, I'm sure you're open to like IG messages. Like I do that a lot. So his link will be in the bio. But what is your IG?
Just Jeff Iverson.
Super easy.
Jeff Iverson.
Yeah, Jeff Iverson. So that'll all be in there if anybody wants to contact Jeff for any of that. Super dope human being, super powerful, great guidance, has guided me through aspects of my life, from sobriety to business to friendship to marriage and kids, and like just super dynamic. So I love you, man. Grateful to have you back in my life.